Today I'm going to read you a story about Noah from the Child Story Bible, written by Catherine R. Voss. It was a storybook that my mom and dad had, and I used to read in it when I was a child. So I'm going to read about Noah, and it's closer to what the Bible says, and so that's why I'm going to read to this story from this child's storybook, and I hope you enjoy the story that I'm reading to you. It will be different than what I read the last time for you about Noah's Ark, and so this is going to be just a little bit more detailed. God looked upon the earth, and he saw that all the people had become very evil-minded. You would not have liked to have lived at that time, because you would have been afraid that some of the wicked people would hurt you or kill you. No one's life was safe. People had forgotten all about God. But there was one good man in the world, and God did not want to destroy him. His name was Noah. Although Noah lived among bad men all the time, he was a good man. He hated all the badness of the people around him. He loved God, thought about him, and prayed to him. He would not do the wicked things that he saw the people around him doing all the time or listen to their bad talk. God spoke to the good man Noah, telling him that he was going to destroy all the people in the world on account of their sins. When all the wicked people should be dead, Noah was to start a new world of people because God had seen that he was a good man. God told Noah to build a big ship so that he and his sons and his wives and his sons' wives might be saved from the flood. They must bring into the ship with them 2 of every kind of animal, beast, and birds, and creeping things, to keep them alive and to start a new world after the flood. Then God told Noah just how to make the ship or ark. He was to build it of very strong wood, to cover it inside and out with pitch, and to make it watertight to the top up all the way. Pitch was what baby Moses' basket was made of, with pitch all over it. So pitch was a sealer. It sealed all the cracks. Though you will see how very long the ark was. It was to be 450 feet long. Now suppose you take a foot ruler and measure 450 feet on the sidewalk. Then you would see how very long the ark was. It was to be 75 feet wide. That is wider than most streets. It was to be 45 feet high. That is as high as a high house. It was to have 3 stories in it. We might call them a staircase, downstairs, and upstairs, and an attic. There were to be rooms in it, probably so that Noah could keep the different kind of animals separated, which otherwise would fight and kill each other. There was to be a window in the ark so that there would be plenty of air to breathe. There was also to be a door by which animals and people could go in. God told Noah to take a great deal of food into the ark of all kinds that is eaten, so that he and all his family and all the animals might have enough food to eat when the flood came. For the flood was going to last a long time, and they would need a great deal of food when they were in the ark. Noah began to build the ark as God had commanded him. It took him a very long time to build it. Perhaps it took him 100 years. It had to be made very strong to keep out all the water, and very big to hold all the animals and the great amount of food they would need. While Noah was busy with it, he preached to the people, telling them that God would punish them for all their wickedness, and that if they did not turn away from their sins, God would send a flood to drown them all. But they would not listen to Noah. They kept right on doing all the wicked things that they had been doing before. They did not think that God would send a flood. They thought Noah was a very foolish man to go on building that big ship when there was no sign at all of any flood. But Noah believed what God had said to him, and he kept on building and preaching as he built. At last, after a long time, the big ship was finished. Then Noah had to gather all kinds of food that is eaten by people and animals and store it in the ark. Then when everything was ready, God told Noah to go into the ark with all of his family, for in 7 days he would send the rain. 2 of every kind of animal must go in with them. Noah went into the ark with his wife, his 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and their wives went also in. Then the animals began to come in. God must have made them willing to enter the ark so that Noah would not have any trouble in leading them in. 2 and 2 mates, a male and a female, every kind of animal that they came into the ark. Of some kinds of animals, 2 had to go in with them, and of some 7. How astonished the people round must have been when they seen these animals marching along into the ark in a long procession. Here comes the lions, the father lion and the mother lion, marching quietly along and going right up into the ark. Here are 2 tall giraffes, and here came 2 big gray elephants, and there came 2 tigers with their beautiful striped coats. 2 by 2 they marched into the ark. Oh, here comes birds, flying 2 by 2 straight into the ark. Here came 2 eagles. There are 2 ravens. See them come, a perfect cloud of birds of all kinds. And here are 2 big ostriches lumbering along, and 2 brilliant peacocks with their tails outspread. And here comes creeping things, the snails, the hop toads, and the lizards. At last the long procession came to an end. Then 2 of every kind of animal that lived on the land was in the ark. When they were all safe in the ark, God shut the door. Then God sent the rain. They have never seen it rain like that. It did not come down in drops. It poured down. The Bible says God opened the windows of heaven, and the fountains of the great deep were broken up. Soon all the land was covered with water. The terrible rain came down in torrents from the sky, and the great tidal waves rose up from the ocean and swept over the land with terrific force and swiftness, carrying everything before them and covering the land many fathoms deep with water. All the wicked people were swept away with the force of the flood and drowned. The flood rose higher and higher. For 40 days and nights, more than a whole month, the rain kept on, pouring down in torrents. Tidal waves came up from the sea and swept over the land. The waters bore up the ark, lifted it up above the earth, and floated it upon the waves. And the waters prevailed exceedingly upon the earth, and all the high hills that were under the whole heaven were covered. At last, even the tops of the high mountains were covered, and the waters rose more than 20 feet above the tops of the highest mountains. And every living substance was destroyed which was upon the face of the ground, both man and cattle, and the creeping things, and the fowls of the heavens, and they were destroyed from the earth, and Noah only remained alive, and they that were with him in the ark. The ark sailed upon the waters. When Noah and his family looked out of the window, they could see nothing but water, water, water everywhere. At last, after 40 days and nights, the rain stopped. No more great tidal waves rose up from the sea and rushed over the land. Very slowly the waters began to go down. Still no land could be seen. For 5 months, whenever the people looked out of the window, they could see nothing but water. At the end of the 5 months, the ark, as it floated, struck something underneath. It was a high mountain called Ararat, and the ark rested upon the top of the mountain. The waters kept on going down. After 3 months, upon looking out of the window, they could see the tops of the mountains. After that, Noah waited for 40 days longer, more than a whole month. Then he opened the window and he sent a bird called a raven out of the ark. The raven, being a very strong bird, flew to and fro and did not come back to the ark. At the same time, Noah sent out a dove to see if the waters had dried up from the earth, but the little dove was not strong as the raven, and she could not keep on flying all the time without any rest. She could not find any place that was not covered with water where she could rest. The dove flew back again, and Noah put out his hand and drew her into the ark. Noah waited a week longer and then sent out the dove again. In the evening she came back. In her beak she had an olive leaf that she had picked from some olive tree. Then Noah knew that the waters were going away from the earth. He waited a week longer, and then he again sent the dove. This time she did not come back at all, so Noah knew that she must have found some dry place where she could stay. When Noah was 601 years old, in the first day of the year, he took off the covering of the ark. He looked out and saw that the earth was dry. He stayed 2 months longer in the ark till the earth was thoroughly dry. When Noah went into the ark, he was 600 years and 2 months old. He stayed in the ark just 1 year and 10 days. God spoke to Noah and told him to go out of the ark with all his family and all the animals. So Noah opened the door and stepped upon the solid earth of Mount Ararat. Out flew the birds, so glad to be free. Down the steep sides of the mountain ran the animals. They spread out in the woods, fields below, each kind of animal finding the sort of place it likes best. There it would make its home and have its little ones and fill the earth again with animals. The first thing that Noah and his family did after they came out of the ark was to kneel and thank God for keeping them alive when all the other men and women were drowned, and to promise him that they would try to live as peaceful as they can to him. God blessed Noah and his sons and told them to have a great many little children, fill the earth with people again. God gave them one command while they must obey. It was this: thou shalt not kill. God promised to punish every man who kills another. He told Noah that if any man should kill another, the rest must punish him with death. This is God's law given long ago. Even to this day, over almost all the world, we still obey this law. God gave a sign to Noah that he never would drown the world again. You have seen this sign many times, for God still remembers his promise. It's a beautiful rainbow. So whenever you see the rainbow, remember God has put it there because he wants you to remember his promise that he will never again destroy the whole world with a flood. No matter how hard it rains, you never need to be afraid of another flood like this one. Thank you so much for listening, and while I was reading, I hope you enjoyed that story again of Noah. Have a great day, and God bless.